Hi, this is Gautam. For today's video, we're going to look at this book, Geotechnography, written by Samir Saran and Anirban Sarma. Now, the topic the book deals with is something which is widely discussed in newspapers, magazines, and social media. What the authors do is that present their arguments and analysis in a structured way. As the title says, geotechnography, they mean the intersection between geography, society, and technology. What they mean as geography here is the physical space. And to establish physical space, the first chapter talks about sovereignty in general. That is, they take us through a small history of Magna Carta and then the Treaty of Westphalia and then post your Industrial Revolution and World War, how exactly sovereignty spreads to different parts of the world, and we have more number of nation states. And from chapter 2, they start differentiating how exactly is this physical space different from the digital space or the so called internet. For example, you may be seeing this video from any part of the world when uploaded. And when you are seeing this video, how different is the physical space from the digital space? Well, they are very different. Let's take social networks in physical space and how they are supposed to be. Maybe you have your neighborhood with whom you share maybe some festivals, or maybe you go to a park frequently. There is a coffee shop nearby, and from there you might have your friends. Now, in the physical space, maybe it could be your office. In the physical space, as you interact with people, the connections usually are stronger because you see the person, you meet the person, and there is a greater chance that if you have a problem or an issue in your area, then most likely all the individuals can coordinate with themselves to solve the problem. For example, take something like waste management or garbage dumping in the area or garbage disposal. Now let's talk about the concept of digital space on how we are connected through this particular video. Now, in the digital space, it is possible that you can become a member of a community which likes pets, for example, dogs, or you might become a member of books, for example, books and discussions, or maybe based on a political ideology, maybe based on music. But the difference is digital space, the networks do not have the level of strength which you find in physical space. But the problem is once people start using internet, they have a wrong impression that these digital societies, which the author uses in quotation, actually might undermine the thought process or the where the individual is present. For example, there are chances that in the internet certain political issues might gather up more space, and then the individual might lose interest or lose practical relationship with the one which is affecting him the most. For example, let's take politics. In India, many citizens were following the politics which were going on with reference to United States and presidential elections a few months back. But unfortunately, if you ask them about the member of parliament or member of legislative council or the ward councillor of their particular constituency or ward, many of them may not know. So this is what we're talking about. Certain discussions in the digital space may lose relevance for the person living in physical space, but unfortunately, he might find some connection with them, which is not going to affect his life at all. Now, once the authors establish the clear differences between physical and digital space, we kind of see that within digital space, there are a lot of issues which invade and affect the physical space. Let's take fake news, disinformation, narratives of propaganda which are firmly for disturbing peace or stability in any country. Now, these things are not properly monitored on social media, but unfortunately, what happens in these digital spaces can cause greater harm in physical space, for which the companies which hold them don't have any accountability at all. And that is where the authors have their next dimension. If you take certain companies, for example, take Meta, when Facebook acquired companies like Instagram or WhatsApp, there were a lot of questions on whether it has become a monopoly. And recently, you know that if you take Google is facing a lot of civil suits and litigations in the United States based on the question that it might be having a monopoly in search engine market, which technically it does. It dominates close to 82% of the market, as the authors write in the book. So when you talk about 82% of search engine markets, these corporations hold enormous amount of power both in advertising and in shaping narratives. But when it comes to questions on accountability, these corporations and their profit driven motives are directly in conflicts with the physical space or the territories of countries. For example, take the issue of data localization. The data of Indian citizens should be a resource, but the data collected from Indian citizens are transferred to some random server in Silicon Valley, which is outside the physical space of so-called India. Now, at the same time, within the digital space, there are so many fragmentations. For example, by internet blockages and by curbing certain domains, it is possible that only one set of information is revealed to a population. And this is seen in the case of China and Russia. And beyond the essay on the conflict with governments, the book goes further and takes up narratives on the issues with cyber crimes and also the global north and south differentiation when it comes to artificial intelligence. Of course, a lot of articles and a lot of discussions are with reference to AI, but in this text, they want to focus more about the policy dimensions and the territorial divisions on how the power is technically with global north, but it creates a lot of issues and it creates or it holds a lot of control over global south. So this book, even though if you take a lot of discussions here, you might find it in contemporary news articles, it is presented in a highly structured way, and I definitely recommend reading. So that's it for today's review. Meet you with the next episode pretty soon. Bye for now.